I so should have known that you were going to make me do the MCS and practiced. I'm going to bumble my way through this. Okay, so 95-year-old Lenora Lynch has spent her lifetime building a successful tea business with her sister-in-law, Maisie. They started in the small rural town of Stony Gap, North Carolina, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And she has since retired and handed the reins to her niece, Maisie's daughter, Robin, who now runs Lindsay's, this tea company. So Lenora anticipates spending her final years in the town of Linville, a couple of hours away, just enjoying the rest of her life. However, Lenora is also harboring a secret. 70 plus years ago, when she and Maisie were starting in this company, Lenora concocted a poisonous tea blend that accidentally killed her husband and her brother-in-law, Mo. No one in the community ever found out about it. She never confessed. And because the brothers were pretty prolific moonshiners in the Appalachian Mountains where they lived, people assumed that they died from bad moonshine, and she let that lie live. Now, Poppy, her granddaughter, is traveling back to Stony Gap, where her tea business began, to do a story on the history of moonshine. And she wants Lenora to come with her because this is Lenora's hometown. Lenora goes against her better judgment because she has been having flashes of the past and cringing upon the present and confusing things. She's afraid going back to Stony Gap, she may inadvertently spill the secret that she's kept a lid on for so long. So she goes back to Stony Gap, and in the course of watching Poppy put this story together, Lenora's secret comes out. She purposefully tells one of her great nephews, whose name is Alton, the secret that she accidentally killed her husband and brother-in-law with a poisonous tea blend in order to make Alton feel better as he is battling his own addiction problems and feels like the outsider in the family. She thinks she will share the secret with him and it will bring him more into the fold and feeling less alone. However, the secret spills out among the community. And now Lenora has to worry about how the family will react to her secret and the fact that the company she's worked so hard to build is probably going to face some kind of backlash from its founder having been a poisoner. So she struggles to share her story with the world. Her family struggles to accept what they've heard. They come apart from her. I don't know a better word to say that. They leave her, and she worries at her age that she's going to be left alone and her business is going to be ruined and that she will die an unwanted, unloved 95-year-old killer.
That was very well done. That was very well done.
It was easier having gotten through the middle part of the writing.
Yep.
Because remember when we first did this, I was stammering because I didn't know where I was going to go with this.
Yep.
It sort of has a direction now.
Yep.
You didn't bumble at all. That was good.
Now, Pam, this chapter, can you set it up for Nick and for us?
So Lenora has already told the secret, and she has told her niece who runs the company, who's in shock, doesn't really know what to say to her. She's told her grandkids and great nephew, and everyone's still trying to figure out what to do with it. She has also just told her daughters, and and this is something I've changed from what you guys saw. They're angry with her. They can't support her. The news has gotten wind of this, and it's gone viral on the internet. And so her granddaughter, Poppy, who is a reporter, says, we need to put out a story and try to save the business at this point from everybody abandoning them. And Rose and Iris, who are her daughters, say, we can't do that. We cannot publicly support Mom. She made this horrible crime, never told anybody about it. You're on your own. So they all go to create this video where they're hoping the public, they can put a lid on it so the public won't leave Lindsay's, because it's her legacy. And meanwhile, the family is trying to figure out what to do with this information and how to reckon their relationship with Lenora.
Okay, and how long, Pam, has it been since everybody found out about this?
They found out in trickles. Rose and Iris just found out last night. Poppy and the rest of them maybe 3 days ago. It's pretty recent.
Okay, and just to be very, very clear, the people that she accidentally poisoned were her husband and her brother-in-law, and all of these family members are either
children, grandchildren, or nieces and nephews of them.
Okay, all right. And it happened when they were all very young, like 2, 3, 4 years old, right?
Yeah, like a baby, like, yeah.
Okay, that these two women
0,
then
2, and 3
on their own. Okay, great. Do you have any questions before you begin, Nick?
I do have a couple. So how big of a company is Lindsay's exactly?
It's like a regionally successful company, not a big corporate thing, but successful enough that she was able to raise her children without ever having to marry again and provide for them in a middle class type household. So I'm trying to think of I don't know, like a.
And then, sorry, I know you probably said it in the beginning, but I'm trying to keep track of the names. Who is Robin exactly?
Robin is her niece who runs the business now. She's the only one who really wanted to become part of the business.
And keep in mind that Robin, her niece, is in her 70s.
Yeah, everybody's too old.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a family with so many 4 generations. It's really hard to come in the middle, but it'll be interesting to see what you have to say. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I was really hoping you would not pick me for Pamela's. I really liked it. I really enjoy your writing.
It's okay.
But this one was specifically kind of hard to jump into in the middle just because there were many names. Yeah. And it felt like so I kind of had the impression that this was like the climax had just happened and this was the resolution. Because I was kind of assuming your climax was there was this big reveal. Oh, I am right? Okay.
You are right. Yep.
So it's not the middle. Okay, perfect.
No, it's towards the end, just a few chapters from the end. 5 maybe.
Right, okay. In that case, I mean, that's great because I thought for a resolution, this was like I could tell it was a resolution just in the way it was written, even though I had no idea who any of these people were. And I thought you did a really good job at just kind of winding down whatever tension there had been. Let me see. Based on what you said, I'll say a few things. First, I didn't know that Lenora was 95. I'm sure there's lots of descriptions, and so most of these comments is like I probably would have picked it up before, but maybe injecting a little bit of her being a little older, a little more feeble in here would be good, because if she is 95, I mean that is pretty substantial. I feel like I would know. And then I wonder if Lindsay's this is just kind of my gut reaction, but I was also seeing this, I was imagining like this was a huge corporation, basically. Like I was thinking national global, just because if there was a scandal like this, I would imagine that it would, I don't know, it had a very kind of press conference feel. Like I didn't think it was like in this massive, like there's a huge audience, like you could tell it was just a few people, but it did seem like, I mean, these were like directors almost of a huge company that were kind of settling something. I'm not really sure what that means or what you could do with that, but I did have the impression, and I wonder if like a regional company would really need to do a big video like this. They might, I don't know. I mean, the internet can get a hold of anything. But I think it depends on how big the company would be, I would assume. Also, I did not know Robin was in her 70s. I was really I could tell she was really important. I could tell she was running part of the company. But I really wanted to ask you kind of what her relation was to the protagonist, because I didn't know. All this also is making it sound like I'm kind of just saying, just based off what I now know, looking back, which is a little difficult to do. So I would take it with a grain of salt. But that does clear up some things. I really like your straightforward style, though. I thought it was really tight. I thought you kept the action nicely. All the dialogue that I read was very good and purposeful. And I specifically like towards the end that the dinner conversation. I mean, we say this a lot in these groups, but it did kind of, I could almost see it playing out in a movie. Like things are winding down and, they're kind of reconciling around a table and, they're saying, hey, remember back when. I thought that was perfect. Like you did a great job showing what needed to be shown. Like they're recording this video and kind of dealing with this, but then they start to ease back down and the relationships are kind of being mended, which I liked a lot. I really like the concept of moonshiners in Appalachia. I didn't exactly know how that was going to end up applying, but I'm interested to read more about that specifically. And I thought you had really great descriptions of tension throughout. Like you weave in body language very naturally. Like I think sometimes it's kind of hard to actually portray that. Like I almost in my own writing, like I can see myself kind of stop the action to put a body language. I say like kind of stop my momentum to put a piece of body language to convey something and then keep going. But I never got that impression with yours. Like it read extremely easily. Like I'm going down and you're showing all the expressions on people's faces, the tightness. And then after they're done recording, it just goes away. Like you didn't really waste any words with that. And then let me see. I also thought the ending was a little, I think you could do a better ending, like this last sentence. The glow of anticipation seemed to settle over the table. The only dim bulb was the unreconciled feelings Rose, Iris, and Robin had. Would her relationship with them all survive? I mean, I think you can just cut that last line because it kind of stops. Like we already had the impression that she needed to repair those relationships and she was like worried about what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you really need to have that last line. Okay. Other than that, I am sorry. I wish I had more for yours, but I was just trying to kind of figure out what was going on. It was very hard to, because it all related very closely to these characters and their relationships. And I had no bearing and like no understanding of what these relationships really were like to start. But I mean, I can answer any questions.
Nick,
I'm impressed with how much you were able to pick up from this far into a book. And something I didn't tell you, this is actually the second of 2 books where Moonshine is more prolific in the first book than this one.
I need to check that one out. Yeah.
If I ever sell it.
For somebody who jumped in the middle, you did a remarkable job. Yeah. And I'm not going to go into it just yet, but I'm going to refer to some of your comments later when I kind of corral all the ideas up a bit. But very astute comments, and thank you so much for diving into that. I appreciate it, Nick. He's always so good with his comments and surprisingly sensitive. I mean, I don't know why I see a stereotype of,
No, I get it. Well, I'm glad you like the comments because I was really worried. I feel like I didn't do good enough.
No, you did a great job. Melanie, what were your thoughts?
Let's see. So I tried to gather my feedback in a different way this time. So I just have like a few things I'm thinking about because, one of my worst qualities is I like to think about things too much. So in this chapter in particular, I'm wondering if like when the broader world finds out that a 95-year-old woman poisoned her husband and brother-in-law, I wonder if they would be more interested in what happens to Lenora as opposed to her company that she founded. If I heard that story, I feel like what I would think is, oh my, are they going to throw a 95-year-old woman in jail? And, I wonder if people would be more interested in that aspect of it. Not that the company wouldn't come into play, but I feel like it would be more like background of, oh yeah, that's how she learned how to poison them. So that's something to think about.
That makes sense.
So when they make their announcement, as they're gathered together, mostly together as a family to support her, and they're getting ready to make their announcement, I thought, oh, I know where this is going. And it went somewhere totally different than what I thought it was going to be. Because what I was anticipating is that the company was going to make amends by announcing some sort of charitable initiative, like contributing to a victims fund or something. Because, I feel like making amends is a theme of your story. Or, if you can make amends, which is another question, right? Can you make amends for some of these things? So I was surprised that their announcement was that they were launching a new business line, which sort of could be interpreted as like tone deaf to the situation, maybe. So, I was just thinking about the concept of making amends versus apologizing.
Mm.
I was also thinking on page 3 about the concept of facing responsibility. On the top of page 3, is that where this is? She says something about facing responsibility. And so then I was thinking, she hasn't really suffered any consequences per se. And I know in another chapter you had, flirted with the idea of the police being involved. But I wonder if this episode would reignite that just from a public interest perspective, maybe. And then I was also, you guys mentioned it earlier, but I was thinking about Robin being in her 70s, and would she still be running the business at that age? And I guess that makes Alton and I forget the other son's name. What's his name?
Kurt.
Kurt. I guess they're older than I was,
In the mid-30s.
Okay. Also, I know you've mentioned before it's a regional company, but there's one brick and mortar, which that's not what I think of as regional. So I kind of go back and forth in understanding the scale of the company, because a regional company, I think, would have like maybe a PR company or, crisis management stepping in, or, a communications person. But if it's a one-shop place, it would definitely be them doing their own PR. Let's see. And then towards the end, let's see, maybe not the end, page 6. So there's a comment about what if they never visited her again or even spoke to her? So obviously Lenora's, she's worried about her family relationships, right? That's probably her primary concern. And she does have these concerns frequently because she's worried about what the revelation of the secret's going to do to her family. I think it would be interesting to elaborate on that with something more specific about the family. Like, what is it she would lose if she lost her relationship with her nieces or her daughters, which could also, give us insight into the family, which would be really interesting to know, to use our favorite word, on a more granular level. What does that look like? Which would be interesting, but then it would also be like, oh man, I hope she doesn't lose that, because that's really cool, whatever that is for them. So those are like big picture things. Also on page 6, she had said it was a possibility she would have to accept. And I was just like poking at the idea of that, of does she have to accept it? Could she make some grand gesture? If she's trying to make amends, what does that look like? I mean, does she do something beyond an apology? Because it feels like mostly she's apologized and owned up to it, but because we've got Alton in the story, I feel like we've got that whole make amends thing that could be a part of the story. So that's just another thought. Yeah. I think there was one other comment kind of along the same lines at the bottom of page 7, that, she would pray that that her daughters would work through their anger. which is kind of passive. And she could be definitely passive about it, or, you know, I mean, that's just how you want her to react, but there's a lot at stake there. And so, you know, if she's really concerned, maybe she would need to be more proactive about doing something. So, yeah.
Thank you. Great.
Yep.
Excellent, thank you. Alex, how about you?
Yeah, great comments. I think that's really interesting and insightful. I think I also didn't quite realize how old everyone is. I knew, just because of reading more chapters, that she was in her 90s, but everybody else, they're always running around and coming in and out of houses and going all over the place and driving everywhere really quickly, and like there's a lot of movement, and I think I was picturing everybody else in their 20s and 30s. And on some level, Lenora, I was actually picturing, if I didn't know how old she was, in her 60s, maybe, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that I hadn't quite tracked that until now, that everybody feels younger to me than they really are. So for this chapter, I do want to say, like, yay, an interview, finally, like public and actual, like the scene that I've been wanting the entire time of an interview or a video or something. Like, here we have it. And it really, really added to the stakes and the drama, and like it was exactly what your reader is wanting. They want to see the scene where they have to, like, do the thing, make the amends, like be under that pressure and actually say something publicly, and we get to see it, you know, like that's what we want, is we want to see them do this. And it was like, oh, it really felt like, okay, here's the stakes, here's the, you know, here's the drama. And it really felt so much more dramatic, and I think that just in general, the emotions of what Lenora's going through and were just much more forefronted, and it really brought it to life in a way that was really nice. So yeah, the video. I also thought the video, I get that they would do this. I mean, I totally buy that they would do this, but then you'd need 3 more chapters explaining how that video is a total mess up and the reactions from it. Because it doesn't really feel like a good apology. Like, I'm just trying to think of, like, the modern world and how people, like, no apology is ever good enough, you know? So this is definitely one that would be like, yeah, whatever, people, you know, like the comment section would just be ridiculous, which is fine. I mean, you can definitely make that happen, right? And that's you know, that's real, right? But I think the thing that people would really jump on is having a product launch at the same moment that you're apologizing for essentially murdering 2 people. Like, I think nobody would, like, that would, you know, they'd have to pull the video within hours probably, because the comments would be so bad. It would just be really rough, which again, you could do, like, that's totally something you could do. The thing that I thought would be necessary for it to be a genuine apology is for her to be way more, like, she'd have to pull some tears, I think, you know, and you know, really get emotional and say that she's stepping down, like to publicly say to everybody, I have already told everybody I'm leaving, and this is my, like, my last day was already days ago. I'm just letting everybody know that I will no longer have any part of this company whatsoever, in order to save it, you know, essentially. She might not say that part, but, you know, I don't know. It needs to be a bigger gesture. I like the charity idea. I think that could work too. Yeah, like, totally. So yeah, that was basically my sort of big picture thoughts. And I do, yeah, it's tough because the whole public persona thing is really difficult deal with and know how the shifting mentalities of the public world are gonna jive with whatever it is you say, and they're always gonna see fault. So no matter what you do, and I think she's probably too old to really be able to understand how to manage it, which I think is interesting. So I think that could be something to play with, but it would add to it. So yeah, hey, right on time.
All right, thank you. Now, I just want to remind people, this is the second interview, correct, Pam?
Yes.
So what happened in the first interview? Did she not make amends then?
In the first interview, she said what happened. She apologized. She cried and did all that, but she didn't announce that she was going to step down from Lindsay's. That is a new action.
Okay. All right.
I think I must have missed that chapter somewhere in the mix. So that's probably, yeah. So sorry about that.
That's okay. Frankly, I'm having a hard time remembering. It's been, the problem sometimes is that either things go out of order or we look at another chapter 2 or 3 times and then we forget what happened beforehand. So it can be difficult. It's not as linear and fluid a process as we would sometimes like, and things happen over time for us. But I found all of your comments really, really good. But what's resonating with me is what Nick said about this is a great resolution, but it's really only about 2/3 of the way through the book.
This is just the beginning of the resolution, in the sense that her whole family is not going to forgive her all at once or come back to her. So in this chapter, Alton begins to feel the connection with her that makes her feel like, okay, he's forgiven me in the sense that he gets what I did and why I did more than anyone else. And Poppy and Kurt, being farther removed from Byron and Mo, aren't as impacted by what she did as hard as Robin, Rose, and Iris, their children. They have not forgiven her, and yet they don't not talk to her because she's staying at Robin's house, but they have not. In the next few chapters, they have to delve a little bit deeper into where are we going to go with this information. So it's just like, it's not a resolution. It's the beginning of the resolution, if that makes sense.
Okay, because I felt as if it was being wrapped up a little too neatly, too quickly.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I mean, the business is not going to, they're not going to be okay with this. The public is not okay with this.
Good.
So yeah, I'm
now,
aware of it.
One thing I wanted to suggest, if you haven't done it already, is if you were to map the story out in terms of the character arc, the plot, and the bonus, which we call the value triangle. Of course, you know that. Because I think it's really important to look at and pace the resolution very, very thoughtfully. And that's my concern is that I still have a lot of outstanding questions. Lenore never spoke in this video. She just stood there, correct? She didn't say a word, did she?
No.
Okay.
They decided she shouldn't. They purposefully said that she should, because she did this once before. How much repetition? I think I battled with, she did this already. So does she do it again? She already did a public interview where she already confessed everything. It was her and Poppy one-on-one. Does she do it again?
Yeah, I think she does.
It was redundant.
And she might even say, for those of you who saw the interview with my granddaughter, this will be old news, but there are a lot of people that are responding to the situation, especially, on the internet, that don't know. And I just want to emphasize how important it is that you understand X, Y, and Z. Nick, thought.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, just one thing. Again, like I don't have the full scope of the story, but kind of from what I understand, You mentioned a few things in your MTS about community and it just being regional, and this seems very like like all the neighbors know about this, and that's kind of what's the big deal. I do really like that they try to address this in like a corporate way almost, and I really like that it doesn't work, according to you, like in the future chapters, because I mean, like this, like exactly what Alex is saying. If you see this come across your feed, you would roll your eyes and be like, especially if there's a product being announced, which if that's purposeful to even make it worse, I do like that. But I could almost see this kind of progressing to the point of if it really is kind of tied to this community or this small town. Maybe if the real climax was Lenora was out in public or at some public event within this community, and then there was a I don't know, so some kind of display or something where they actually address the community on like a more personal level, like in person, or maybe I don't know, maybe she breaks down kind of in public in front of all the people closest to her, because I was thinking that would be the only thing that would really seem authentic in a case like this. Like maybe if it was caught on video, even, she has some breakdown in public community space. It's caught on video. I think that's something that the internet actually would have sympathy for if you need the company to be kind of liked by the end as well. But I don't know. It's just a thought. If you have more to wrap up, I could see that being a cool scene.
Okay.
I think it's really important. The most valuable part of this story in terms of leaving the reader satisfied is how these resolutions happen. And it's going to be a very choppy road. There are going to be a lot of mistakes. There are going to be a lot of false starts. Alton's going to have a false start with his recovery, I hope. I hope that he starts to lean in and then he has a relapse, because it's going to take a long time. But part of this is, and so much of this is about the quality of forgiveness. It's something that's worth taking the time over. So be careful of making it feel like, well, we've got X and Y done, now the Z part is my daughter's. That's how it felt by the end of the chapter. I also thought, so you can go either way. I thought Melanie's idea was brilliant of them coming up with maybe a foundation or something or other that they are starting. But then Alex's, this is the false start. And now they're going to get even worse feedback, and she's going to become notorious, And that's also a good way to go, but it should go one of the two ways. Right now, it's not enough that they make this video and then everything starts to resolve, because I'm not convinced that this would do it.
No, it's not. I mean, in the next chapter, Lindsay's gets a lot of blowback at the physical store and things deteriorate a little. I don't know where I'm going to go with it, but it happens.
Well, why would they get blowback, Pam?
Because they don't like the video. The public comes and the reporters come and protesters come and employees walk out. And again, it's a smaller, I guess then regional is not the right word. It's a smaller, I guess it's not quite a mom and pop, but it's so ingrained in this small Appalachian community. It's big for them, but it's not big.
It might be big in the Appalachians.
It's big. I think that's what I'm trying to make it, so that the people who are true to the Blue Ridge and the Appalachia and local, who, everybody shop local, and they're going to support Lindsay's, but now this makes them not. So we're only big for them.
I've never had a problem with that notion of where it sits, because there are a lot of businesses that have started, exactly like Lindsay's, and then they do a mail order business, and then they're on the map in some small way. They're famous for something. They are part of that local makeup. Part of that regional makeup is, oh, well, if you're going to go, there, then you better stop by Lindsay's. Everybody knows about Lindsay's. So I do think it's an important part of the pride of the community, the area, the region, if you will. So, bringing it to that community response was also another suggestion. I think that was Nick's as an afterthought, which is a great thought. How does that make the locals feel? Suddenly something that's been a pride of their area is
Mhm.
now being mocked as, well, why don't they call it killer tea, or whatever. You can imagine the kind of stuff that's going to happen on the internet, right? All the
Now
trolls.
somebody's got to say that. Yeah.
So there's a lot going on. All I'm asking of you, Pam, is you spend a lot of time in this book on the setup. And I'm
Mhm.
afraid that you're not spending enough time on the resolution,
Okay.
that it should evolve very organically. And as much as your writing is very organic when it comes to descriptions and setting and body language, et cetera, I don't know if the plot is evolving as organically as it should.
Okay.
Take your time with it
Mhm.
and really study these things. But I think you're definitely on your way, and this was a very intriguing chapter. So well done. And your MCS was fabulous. So you know where your book's going.
Hmm.
That is not always something that we can say. Believe me, take my word for it.
Bardsey provides the tools, guidance, and support you need to produce a compelling novel. Our well-researched and thoroughly tested approach includes our minimum complete story, a 90-second exercise designed to keep you on track and foster creativity, the Bardsey Publishability Index, a 23-dimension checklist that offers attainable goals and actionable feedback, and our brand new comprehensive character developer, a fun, interactive tool guaranteed to help you construct unforgettable characters. Come see it for yourself today at bardsey.com. Try our workshop or enter our first chapter contest. Then, when you're ready, Elite membership delivers directed writing groups and personal coaching within a curated community. With Bardsey's help, your work will captivate everyone, from agents to publishers, and most importantly, your readers.